Okay, let's talk about math SAT. Not necessarily your general math, the one that you'll find usually at school in your classrooms, but it's somewhat like it. So let's talk about the process. Now, I usually do this because many of the questions I get is, I'm sitting in the SAT room and this guy finished like 10 minutes early. What am I doing wrong? Now, all I can say is generally you're probably not doing anything wrong, but there are some tips to improve how you do it. So, probably the number one thing that probably amazes most people when I talk to them, especially in the sessions, is that every single problem can be solved in around, I don't know, 30 to 45 seconds. There is a way to solve everything. Not to say that you will solve everything in 30 to 40 seconds. Some might take you 15, some might take you a minute, some might take you even 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds when you just like, oh, yep, 2x plus whatever is this. And so, but then some might take you 2 minutes. So that's just how SAT math works, but it averages out to around 30 seconds. And I'm getting all this knowledge basically from a great author called Mike Barrett. He's the author of the SAT Black Book. I highly, highly recommend it. But what I'm going to show you right now is basically a version of his method, the way he tells us to do our math, or not tells, suggests we should do our SAT math, was pretty good suggestions. But I'm kind of tailoring it to us in Plano because we get a different type of math education here. And there's some things that we do very well on, there's some things we kind of lack out on. So let's begin. So number one, no matter where you are or no matter who you are, this is key. This is key. Read the question. This is probably the reason most people get everything incorrect, if anything incorrect, and it is probably the biggest pain. When you're, especially on an easy question, when you're just blazing through it, and you realize that they're looking for X and not Y, or they're looking for this statistic and not that statistic, or they're looking for the area around the circle and not the area of the circle. So these are some very key things. Always read. And I tell people that the SAT math is not is not really a math portion. Yes, there's a bunch of math to it, but once you get it, it becomes more of an English quiz to see how fast you can read and how accurately your reading abilities are. So this is just another uh, get the question. So the hard parts here are not and necessarily the math behind it, but understanding what the question is asking you. That's what trips most people up. But if the math is something that is still hard for you at this point, always just attend sessions, talk to me, and we can get that math in. It's just, it goes up to Algebra 2, and we can get it in if we just have a little time. So let's move on. For the people that have that so far. So now we read the question carefully. So now second one is Mike Barrett. He talks about reading the answer choices, but I like to save that to later on. So the second one I use especially is just look at the diagrams. The diagrams are great things. So if there's let me pull this out here. So if there is a square and it's asking you for this, know that asking you for this right here, which is, I believe it's just s root 2 by the way. But say this is s, you know this is s. Say this is 5, that's also 5. And then over here is trying to ask you for what this is. So now you know you can easily eliminate out of your answer choices anything that's less than 5, because that diagonal is physically impossible to be less than 5. So that's why some diagrams are great, and they also help you clear your mind. So now let's move on from that. Now this is where I also kind of break off from. He says, consider the math areas. Consider which areas you want to use. Consider math. Consider math. Let's see, areas. Great advice. It's very good. But I like to kind of piggyback off of this by adding something else, and that not only consider math areas, but consider practice questions, practice cues that are similar. This is key. A lot of SAT math is knowing which things to answer when and which things are asking you what. So do a lot of practice questions, and you'll realize, oh, this is just another area in the circle thing. This is another circle inside a square. This is so you'll find a bunch of, it's pretty repetitive when you take SAT math. So my way to get that down is just take some practice tests, take some little few questions, talk about the SAT question of the day if that helps, if you have that much time. But let's move on. Okay. So piggyback, that's the piggyback I like to do. So that's my 4.5 or 3.5. Sorry, that's my 3.5. That practice question. Let's move on. Okay, 30-second solution. This is life. 30-second solution. Another thing Mike Barrett offers, great thing, 30-second solution. Know that there's always a simpler way. And if you get to a problem where you realize that, oh, I could get it if I spend probably like 7 years factoring this, doing that, when there's probably you should look for a pattern, as in, oh, maybe that big equation they gave you is just an identity for probably like a sum of cubes, difference of cubes, or it's maybe just it's a sum of squares. 30-second, that's great. And you can always maybe look at a diagram and think, oh, is this good? Is that great? So then what I usually do is I solve. Good stuff. Good. Solving is usually, usually helps on these things. Might not be the best suit, but kind of need to do it. And then six, I would try to make. I'll make it six, and I'll put it here as well. Here you want to just this are the answer questions, or the answer choices. Sorry. Okay, so why I have it last and I kind of make it like a 2.5 is because I don't want your answer choices to lead you into thinking what's going on. But it's 2.5 because it's necessary to glance over. Like, say if it's something like this, it's easy to eliminate answer choices. So this is where I'd kind of eliminate answer choices. But 6, I have answer choices here because it's very important. So why I have answer choices here at the end is, say you have a question that involves 3 steps. So say I'm talking about the area of a square. Let me move that. So let's say we're talking about like the area of a square inside a circle. In the answer choices, there I guarantee you, there will be one for the area of the square. There will be one for the area outside the square, and there'll be one for the entire thing. So that's why reading, this is basically just restating, read the question. Know which one you want, but this is also a way to check your answer. Know that if it's asking you for this stuff over here, and you also see the area for all of this, and you also see the area just for the square, you know you're on the right track, and if you read the question carefully, you can kind of bet on getting that answer right. You can probably put money down, just like, I got this right. And probably don't do that, but that's probably something you could do. So this is just kind of a overview of all SAT math. If you have more specific questions, most of my sessions can handle them, but if you don't want that, there's always a bunch of videos coming up. Just we gotta wait for I guess more questions to come in. So thank you guys. Hope you guys find this helpful, and good luck on your SAT.